Welcome back to part 5 of What If Hinata was the sensei of Team 7. Please make sure to like and subscribe as it motivates me to make more videos in the future. As always, link to the fanfiction is in the description. Chapter 11 Sapphire Village Part 4 Aftermath. She was back in the land of waves. She was on that mission, the same mission that costed one of her students their lives. She would do it this time. She would save Sakura. She would not fail. She ran towards her, but every time she felt like she could get close to her, she felt even further away. Sakura was begging her to help her. She ran even faster, but she still couldn't get any closer. Zabuza was right behind her, and like every other time she failed, Sakura died decapitated. Her head rolled towards her and she looked at Hinata with hatred. "I'm sorry," Hinata said, crying. "Your apologies mean nothing," she heard Sakura say. She saw the girl pick her head up and reattach it back on, and she spoke with an inhuman voice. "I had a future, I had dreams and ambitions, I admired you, I respected you. Because of you, I died," Sakura said with hatred. Hinata didn't want to see this. The future I could have had. She saw Sakura in multiple different possible futures, one where she was a member of the Medic Nin division, one where she was an instructor at the academy, or one where she was a taijutsu specialist. In every future she was doing something and she was dead. The anger and the hatred in the voice continued. "You should have died instead of me," the nightmare Sakura said. The same words her father said to her. "She is right, you are a failure and she's dead because of you." She looked and saw her father. "It's your fault, your mother's dead. Have you not been weak and useless, she would still be alive. Had you not been so arrogant to underestimate your enemy, Sakura would still be alive." Her father pointed at her accusingly, that look that he always gave her when he gave his disapproval. "My dear daughter, my useless pathetic daughter," her mother, the same look she had in her face as every one of them. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Tears were falling through her eyes, their accusing looks. "You didn't take care of Naruto like I asked you to." She looked around and it was none other than Kushina. She wanted to curl up in a ball. "I'm sorry," she had no idea what to say. "Failure," she heard one of her teammates, who she had forgotten her name, "a pathetic wretch, to think that you were foolish enough to fall in love with me." She looked and saw Itachi, how he appeared on the night he killed his clan. Bodies right behind them, cursing her name. "Stop," Hinata begged. She heard voices laughing as if they thought what she said was funny. "You deserve to suffer, sensei." Sakura's voice sounded like a demon, her appearance was distorted. "Your failure could have led to the death of my son. My only son. Made a promise, you promised to take care of Naruto, and you failed at that." Kushina slapped Hinata hard across the face. "She is right, you have failed in everything, Hinata. In everything that mattered. Itachi Uchiha betrayed you. He murdered everyone from his clan. You are at fault for why Sasuke is an orphan," said her mother. "Failure," she heard thousands of voices. It was driving her mad just hearing everything they were saying. She crawled her face to try to make it stop. She screamed, but it wouldn't stop. Her face was covered in her blood. Then she saw her other teammates who were alive, or so she didn't know. Sasuke was lying on the ground dead. Kagome was lying on the ground in a pool of her own blood. She saw everyone else who was on the mission. Naruto, who was in a pool of his own blood. She ran to him as fast as her legs could carry her. She lifted him up, hoping to see if he was alive. "Hinata-sensei," Naruto whispered weakly. "My son is dying, and it's all your fault," Kushina spat angrily. "Naruto, stay with me, please." "Not you too," Naruto smiled sadly at her. "This is it, sensei. I'm sorry. I wasn't strong enough." Time stopped in the last moments of Naruto's life. "He's dead, and it's your fault," Kushina said to her. "No," Hinata screamed on the top of her lungs. She had failed completely and utterly. She heard the voices screaming, "Failure," over and over again. She screamed and she didn't stop. Hinata woke up in a sweat. She looked around and saw that she was on the hard floor. Where were her teammates, and where was everyone else? Before she could get up, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was none other than her friend Kurenai. "You should be resting. That genjutsu that was cast on you had some pretty nasty effects. Whatever nightmares you've been having will be amplified, and any feelings that you feel inside will make the jutsu even more powerful." Hinata had no idea what Kurenai was talking about. Then she looked at her wrist, and a pain in her abdomen and wrist, it made her hesitate. Did she really stab herself? She wanted to ask, but she couldn't force the words out. She tried to sound neutral as much as possible. She asked her friend a question. What happened to the mission? Is everyone okay, Naruto? Hinata was gently silenced by her friend. They're fine, they're helping the villagers clean up along with the Cloud Ninja, although there are tensions due to your sister killing one of their friends, so she is being kept as far away from them as possible. Kurenai looked like she had more to say. Hanabi could use you right now, she's shaken up about killing someone. She has no one to talk to. You're her sister, Hinata. I know you haven't been really on speaking terms for years, but she needs her big sister. I'm begging you, not only as your friend but also as her student, please talk to her. She didn't know how to talk to her sister these days. They haven't spoken that much in 9 years, barely a word. What could she possibly say? What can they possibly talk about? I don't know how to talk to her. Hinata confessed, just simply listening to her would be a start. It isn't going to be easy, I already know that, but nobody will talk to her. Neji treats her with disdain. Her father expects her to be the perfect Hyuga, she has no one to really talk to. Hinata, she has difficulty making friends, there's only so much I can do as her sensei, she needs her family, she needs her sister. I can't force you to talk to her, but please. Her friend's request was reasonable. There's no denying that, but how could she talk to her? The resentment that she feels towards her was still there. It wasn't fair, she knew, holding that against her. She didn't choose to be favored by her father. It's not her fault, but her childhood was hell as soon as she was able to leave the compound. She left without looking back, due to how hellish it was living there. And Hanabi was a reminder of that hellish childhood she had. I'll try, Hinata said, not really wanting to argue over the issue. She remembers everything that happened, how she almost killed her friend, which terrified her the most. What she couldn't help but feel responsible for was the genjutsu that had been cast on her. Even though it wasn't her fault, she still felt partly responsible. I know what you're thinking, Hinata said. It's not my fault. That could have happened to any one of us if that jutsu had been cast on us. None of us are familiar with the jutsu, so we can't do it. You are strongly resistant to genjutsu, so there's no way you could be at fault here. Some unknown enemy casted it on you. I don't know why. She didn't get a chance to finish. It doesn't matter, I almost killed you. I could have killed everyone who was in my way. This is another failure on my part. Before she could say anything more, Kurenai gently placed her right hand on her cheek. Enough of that, Hinata. Whatever happened, happened. There's nothing that can change that. The only thing we can do is move forward and learn the truth so it doesn't happen again. She wouldn't let it happen again. She had to get stronger. She had to train to be even stronger. If she had been stronger, she would not have been under the influence of that genjutsu. Rest, Hinata, I will inform your students that you have recovered and your sister, they will be relieved. Hinata laid back down as her friend left. She closed her eyes and still remembered the hurtful words her father had said to her, the words she heard every time she went to sleep. She felt a tear fall down her cheek. No matter how many years had passed, those hurtful words still wouldn't leave her. Hanabi couldn't get the image out of her mind. The person she killed wasn't something new to ninja. They were expected to inflict death at some point, but it wasn't anything like she imagined. Part of her felt like she had changed, part of her felt like she was different. She didn't like it at all. Was she a bad person? Every single one of the Cloud Ninjas looked at her with hatred in their eyes. The person they killed was their friend. They were very close. A girl with black hair ran towards him and cried, then looked at her in anger and rage. That was my boyfriend. I should kill you, she said with grief and rage. The image wouldn't leave her mind. What made her any different from the Cloud Ninja who she killed? No matter how much she justified it, she couldn't get the image out of her mind. The look of the girl who looked at her with hatred. This was not the life she wanted. This glorious way of life that was often portrayed in the academy was nothing of the sort. It was the opposite. There was no glory in what she did, no honor. She heard footsteps behind her. It was Naruto. She didn't really want to talk to him right now. She didn't want to talk to anyone. I know what it's like to kill. I've done it too. When I killed that boy in the land of waves, I felt part of me changed. I didn't like it. She didn't want to hear it, but he continued anyway. It's okay to feel what you're feeling, so don't hide it. I don't like the feeling any more than you do. She looked at Naruto. She always used to be told he was the class clown, the class idiot, but he was far more mature than anyone would ever give him credit for. I doubt my sister taught you that. Hanabi said bitterly. No, but your sister has taught me many things. She's a very important friend to me, and I don't like her cutting you out of her life. She's in pain, and she doesn't say it, but she is. I can't help her. I feel like you can in ways I can't. She was picking up on something Naruto, the way he spoke about her sister. His feelings were strong. She could tell even though he wasn't aware of it, this wasn't just a crush or infatuation, his feelings toward her were deep. It was always said that one couldn't fool the eyes of a Hyuga. She would disregard that feeling for now, it didn't matter what his emotions were toward her sister. Why haven't you told my sister? She asked him, wanting him to leave her alone. I've talked to her about it. But I kind of feel like if you two were just to talk, it would help both of you. I just want Hinata to smile and not be sad all the time. Something about the way he said that made her think that maybe what she believed to be true wasn't actually true. She should keep her thoughts to herself for now and wait and see if what she thinks is correct. Thank you Naruto-san. I will take your advice under consideration. Now, if you leave me alone for now, I would appreciate it. Naruto did as she asked and left her alone. Talking to her sister, what if she just rejects her again? No, she couldn't think like that. She had to do it now. If she didn't try, she wouldn't have a chance when they returned home. She got up and went to the building where Hinata was. Somehow, she was going to talk to her sister and make peace, regardless of the outcome. At least, if she failed this time, she at least tried. Naruto saw Hanabi go, he heard something from Kagome. I think I'm starting to respect you, Naruto. The way she said it wasn't condescending. Naruto never thought Kagome was someone he would ever be able to get along with, he always viewed her as a bitch over his time being a ninja for a short while. He had realized, especially with his first enemy, that not everything is as it seems. I just want our sensei to resolve things with her sister. It just doesn't seem right, you know. Kagome looked like she knew something Naruto didn't. You don't understand what it's like to have siblings, yet you want Hinata-sensei to make amends with hers. You are interesting. Naruto looked at the girl. She didn't disrespect him or insult them throughout the whole time. What was going on? You and I both know what it's like to grow up in poverty. Don't think I don't understand you, Naruto. I do at least to some extent. He didn't know that about her. It would also explain why her clothes were always cheap and torn. She was often teased because of her parents being poor. So you finally talked to the idiot, it seems like the world has frozen over. Naruto heard Sasuke joke. We all have something in common to some extent. Naruto was wondering what she meant by that. And what is that? Naruto asked her. Everyone judges me based on what I show on the surface, based on the way I dress and the way I look. All the girls judge Sasuke on superficial things but don't even see that he's an orphan, they won't see it because he has no family to return to. You are hated for things that aren't your fault, people judge you based on things you haven't done. All of us have that in common. Naruto didn't think about that before Kagome, who looked like she might be in pain for having to say these things out loud. If you don't mind me asking, why do you want to be a ninja? Naruto asked her. Because I just want my mom to live comfortably. She said, embarrassed for her reason. Sasuke looked surprised. Naruto couldn't help but feel jealous that she had a mother to come back to. So that's why you acted the way you did toward Ino and how you reacted towards Sakura's death. The girl turned away, ashamed. I know I'm a terrible person, but this damn village doesn't give us any other option. If you're not a shinobi, how else are you going to make a living? You have no idea how hard it is in this village for those who can't be a shinobi. Crippling poverty and humiliation, my mother had to resort to prostitution at times in order to put food on the table. That's how bad things are. Naruto felt sick. Sasuke wasn't shocked. Do you have any idea what would have to change in order for this village to be a better place to live if you were the Hokage? You don't know anything about the conditions of our village. You don't know how difficult it is for women with no connections to get promoted past the rank of Chunin, but you don't know how difficult it is for civilians or the crippled to survive. It's why I don't see anything honorable about this line of work. There is no honor, it's elitism. Nothing more. I hate the very idea of being a shinobi in the first place, but what choice do I have? How am I Going to feed myself or my mother? Kagome asked Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto couldn't think of an answer because it all rang true. He saw this firsthand, he was one of the lucky ones. When he thinks about how bad his life was, it could have been a lot worse. You are learning, kid, this girl has a lot more to her than there is on the surface. She is right about the village, but it is not unique to Konoha. If you think that, you're naive, the entire shinobi system is flawed. I won't tell you why, you'll have to figure that one out for yourself and come up with your own answer. Kyuubi was right, Naruto questioned. Did he ever want to be Hokage, or was it because he simply just wants people to acknowledge that he exists, but he isn't just something? Let me ask you something else, Naruto. What do you want more than being the Hokage? Kagome asked him seriously. This was the longest conversation they had ever had. It was a chance for them to have a clean slate and be friends. Honesty would be best. I wish to have a family more than anything. I wish to have a wife to come home to every day, and if I ever have kids, I want my own children as well. Naruto turned away, blushing. Sasuke shrugged as if it were obvious, but Kagome wasn't surprised. Would you like that to be a certain someone? Sasuke teased. Kagome laughed. Oh, you don't mean, oh, you can't be serious, Sasuke. Naruto said, annoyed, you aren't mocking my dream. Kagome asked him, not mockingly, do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Whatever I have to work on, I'll talk to you later. Naruto took off. He couldn't help but wonder what he just discussed if he could choose not to be a shinobi. Would he? That disturbed him more than he wanted to admit. He didn't want to think about it. He just focused on the mission to help the villagers. He created shadow clones to help continue the effort, which were also being assisted by the Cloud Ninja, who are the other side of the village. Naruto didn't think about the feelings inside him. They were getting stronger lately whenever he thought about her. He didn't understand this feeling. He had to focus on the task at hand. He couldn't afford to be distracted right now. He would think about it further after the mission was over and everyone was safe in Konoha. Sasuke saw Naruto go. Kagome was helping Sasuke clean up the debris. He wondered what was on her mind. Why did you ask him about his feelings towards our sensei? Sasuke asked him, curious more than anything else. It's obvious, Sasuke, the whole damn squad knows that he has a massive crush on Hinata sensei, but I'm not fooled. I see it as much more than a crush. Sasuke didn't understand what she was talking about. He knew Naruto had a thing for her and a huge crush on her, but there's no way it could be more than that. Have you ever heard of the red threads of fate? Asks Kagome. Everyone has heard of it. It's when two lovers, who are fated to be together, meet and fall in love. It also says they are lovers from previous lives. Why do you bring this up? Sasuke didn't know how this was relevant. You can't see the signs, Sasuke. He is in love with our sensei, and he doesn't know it. That was something Sasuke did not expect. He had a crush on Sakura. Everyone knew that, but to be in love with one's own sensei was ridiculous. That was absurd. That's absurd. She's at least 6 years older than he is. There's just no way in hell I could ever see Jonin and a genin being anything more than teacher and student. He heard Kagome sigh in irritation. Have you seriously forgotten that Minato Namikaze, our previous Hokage, and his wife, were his sensei? Do you really forget about Kushina Uzumaki? That name sounded familiar to Sasuke. His mother often mentioned her best friend Kushina. Okay, so you're saying Naruto is going to be just like his parents and is going to marry Hinata sensei. Sasuke laughed at the absurdity of it. It's not out of the realm of possibility. You got to remember Kushina didn't realize she was in love with him until after she met him again when he was a man. I'm pretty sure there's early signs of it being there for Hinata sensei as well. Sasuke thought it was ridiculous. He didn't want to hear about this anymore. Can we just drop this damn subject and focus on our mission? Sasuke said, irritated with the conversation. I'll be right there, and you know it. I won't tell you I told you so when they officially become a couple one day. They stopped the conversation and just focused on the mission. The only thing on Sasuke's mind at the moment was to get stronger to avenge his family and clan. That's what mattered. He had no time for things like love, which would just get in the way. Hinata was alone. She did her stretching exercises and everything she was taught when she was in the Hyuga clan compound. As much as she hated her clan, she couldn't abandon everything. The gentle fist is part of who she is. She had saved many people's lives with what she was taught. She couldn't think about that without turning around. She heard footsteps, she didn't need to turn around to know who was behind her. "Hanabi, why are you here?" Hinata asked her calmly. "To talk, can we do that, sister?" She turned around and saw a desperate look on her face. They hadn't spoken in 9 years, barely any words. The bitterness Hinata felt over her preferred treatment of Hanabi over her was understandable, but it wasn't really fair to judge her for her past actions. She didn't know what to say about the bitterness she felt for all these years. "What do we talk about, Hanabi? You know my feelings about our clan and why I want nothing to do with it or anyone in it. You know that, so why do you still want to talk to me?" She truly did want to know why Hanabi wants to talk to her. She wanted to wash her hands clean from the clan. "I don't care about the clan, Hinata. I just want my sister back. I don't like how you treat me like I'm a stranger. I just want us to be a family again. It's so lonely in the compound." Her sister was on the verge of crying, which made Hinata feel awful for her earlier actions. "I'm sorry," Hinata said, not knowing how to say anything else. "Can you at least tell me the truth? Why do you hate the clan so much? Why do you hate father so much? Can I at least have that?" Reliving the day that her mother died and those hurtful words was not something she wanted to talk about right now. "I can't, Hanabi. It's too painful. I don't want to relive that day. Please don't ask me this right now. I'll tell you another day, just not today. Please." Her sister looked at her in understanding. "Thank you, Hinata, for at least being willing to talk to me." There was silence. Hinata had no idea how to talk to her sister. This was the longest conversation she'd had in almost a decade. "The clan will not approve, you know," Hinata warned. "I don't give a damn about them. I want my sister, and I won't let them get in the way of that," Hanabi said defiantly. Hinata felt a sense of relief, even though it would take time to rebuild whatever relationship she had with her sister. At least, she has a chance to do so. She feels like a fool, not considering what she has. "Can we at least start talking about something?" Hanabi asked her, hoping to not end the conversation they were just having prematurely. Sure, it wasn't much, but they started talking about what they've been doing in the past few months. It was the start. She knew it would take time for her to feel open enough to talk about her past, what happened with the clan, with her sister. But for now, she can at least talk to her sister. Because unlike Naruto or Sasuke, she still has a family of her own, even if it's only her sister that she considers family at this point. It would be a few more days before the village was completely cleaned up. The Cloud Ninja planned to leave, which meant that Konoha's shinobi should leave by the time a decision was made. Hinata made sure she had everything. She inspected her wounds, checking if they were healed. She was fortunate that her self-inflicted wounds weren't lethal. Though she was advised to visit the holy site by an old man a few days ago, she felt apprehensive. She didn't want to embrace her role as the Byakugan princess, but she was given a divine right to visit the holy site because she was a descendant of Kana Hyuga. "You don't need to bring anything but yourself. This site is safe. You are of her blood. Welcome, child of Kana. May your mother protect you from your enemies who would do you harm," a woman who escorted her inside the tomb said. Hinata did not want to leave the village yet. There was unfinished business. She was told about the holy site and the possible birthplace of the Uchiha and Hyuga clans. Her students were with their other peers when she left. They were conversing with each other. She had to go there alone. She was escorted, she had a torch, she looked all around her at the story of a civilization that once thrived here. The rise and fall she saw on the writings was that of a language that was no longer extant, it was extinct. She couldn't read it even with her Byakugan. She was escorted into a dark room and what she saw was a tomb. She walked towards it and she saw the name that she didn't expect to ever see. This couldn't be Kana Hyuga. Her final resting place was here. What the hell is this place? She read everything in the grave, everything that was ingrained. If you are reading this, then you are the Byakugan princess of your generation. You are my blood, you are my child, my daughter. You are the next mother of our clan. I Kana Hyuga Byakugan queen, mother of all, your fate is tied to my own. You cannot run away, we are fated to meet. By reading this you have broken the first seal. Hinata felt horrified when she heard loud noises. She looked around. The people who had escorted her were excited. What did she just do? The tomb opened, she saw a woman whose eyes were closed, whose face was covered in a mask, the only thing that was exposed was her mouth. She was covered head to toe, her hair was long, just like Hinata's was. She removed the mask and broke it. Hinata couldn't believe her eyes, it couldn't be, she's dead, yet she looks as young as she did. How is that possible? She saw everyone who had escorted her, they bowed, they were overjoyed. Our goddess has returned, our mother is with us once again. Hinata was confused. She was told nothing about Kana except that she was extremely powerful and she was a rogue member of her clan. The woman spoke softly. It has been some time. My children. Since I've been wrongfully imprisoned, but I am free now. Free to guide my children once again to protect you from the wicked ones who would dare harm you. The way she spoke didn't seem malicious. She was told when she was raised in the clan, she was wicked and evil, yet she felt nothing that was evil from her. It messed with her mind. How could someone with her reputation be not evil? What messed her up even more was her voice. It sounded a lot like her own. It was almost like looking at her own reflection in the mirror. Unlike Hinata, who looked more regal, she looked like a queen from a different age. The robe she wore was pure white, which was the opposite of what she had been described as a child. She had been described as wearing black. Almost as if she could see deeper into her soul, Kana, despite her eyes being closed, felt like she was able to look deep into her soul. It was unnerving to her. She walked towards her slowly. The closer she got to her, the harder it was to not recognize her as her ancestor. So you're the one that freed me, my child. The woman slowly approached her. Looking at her was like looking at a mirror of herself. They looked like twins. My poor child. My clan has treated you so poorly. Your father disregarded you like trash, but you're much more than those fools say you are. My dear daughter. The way she spoke, it was so mother-like. I've seen everything, the hurtful words by your own father, the clan disregarding you as trash and tossing you aside like you are nothing. You don't have to be in pain anymore, my dear daughter. I offer you a chance to have a real family, a real mother. I can give you a purpose. I can give you everything that those fools in the clan and in Konoha will not. She looked deeply into her soul, her insecurities, her anguish. She was offering her a place to belong. The temptation would be so easy to accept. However, before she could even consider it, one way or the other, a man interrupted them. What have you done? You unleashed the monster, said an elderly man to the same man from earlier. The woman approached him. Oh, you're that boy from all those years ago. You helped put me in this cursed prison for all these years. My children suffered. Those poor Uchiha children suffered at the hands of their own because of the wickedness of this world. There is no punishment that is worse for you than a painful death. You are the reason my children from the Uchiha clan are dead, and for that, you will die. You and everyone who betrayed me will die. The kind voice was gone. The woman struck at the man's chakra points. He collapsed in pain, he was screaming in agony. She walked, tortured him. How nice it must have been to enjoy decades of your so-called freedom as my children suffered, you and your wicked, ungrateful rubble killed and pillaging around you. She stepped on his chest and he screamed. I heard the dying screams of every Uchiha man, woman, and child, and I was powerless to save them because I was sealed in this prison. She continued to torture him, she wanted to make him suffer. Hinata couldn't believe what she was seeing being done with the gentle fist. This act of cruelty unnerved her. The woman continued to rip his chest open, she tore it like claws. He screamed in pain, blood was dripping everywhere. It would have been one thing if she just killed him quickly, but she was prolonging his suffering. You are as wicked as I remember you, demon. The old man spat at her feet, his blood, and spit on her feet. How dare you defile our mother with your tainted blood? A brown-haired girl said she was ready to finish him, but she was stopped. There's no need to dirty yourself with the likes of him, child. His life is at an end. As if on cue, she crushed his head with her bare hands. Hinata was horrified. This was not what the gentle fist was used for, torture, cruelty. This is not what the gentle fist was used for. It was an honorable fighting style and an honorable technique, not for torture. How can you use the gentle fist for torture, which is not what our style is all about? That is not our way. You're as wicked as the stories say. I was almost fooled. Hinata got into a fighting stance. The woman looked at her as if she were a child. She spoke calmly as if she were teaching a lesson to a naughty child who didn't behave. You know nothing, girl. Everything you know about our clan is a lie. Even the name of our fighting style is false. Revisionist history to erase what our style truly represented in time. Girl, you will know the truth. She did not want to believe anything she was told could not have been a lie. She replied back angrily. I am not a child, damn you, I'm an adult. The woman laughed as if she had said something amusing. Are you Hinata? From what I could tell, you're 19, you're barely an adult, but I'm forgiving towards you after all. It's not your fault that you're ignorant about your upbringing. After all, my clan erased every ounce that there ever was a queen of the Hyuga clan. Everything she was being told shattered everything she once believed. It couldn't be true. In time you will know the truth. Come my children, we shall leave this place. I need a place to rest. Her followers went ahead of her. Hinata wanted to stop her. She couldn't move. Was this fear she felt? Nobody had she ever encountered so powerful that she undid the first seal. You are terrified of me, girl. I could see that you are wise. Those who don't feel fear in my presence are fools. You undid the first seal, the second is on my eyes. In time, I will regain my full strength. I have followers even in the Hyuga clan. I hope one day Hinata, you will join me. My daughter, until that day comes, we will depart. Thank you for freeing me from that prison. The woman left. She couldn't believe what she had just done. She had unleashed one of the most powerful shinobi that has ever lived back into the world. No, she couldn't just let her go. She had to fight. She charged at her. If she could just land one blow, if she could just hit her at the heart, it would be over. She could undo her mistake. Foolish child. I guess I'm going to have to teach you a lesson. The woman turned around and blocked her blow. Hinata couldn't let her fear consume her. She had to win. She used every single technique that she could muster. Her Byakugan activated, and she blocked every blow. Blow for blow, she was being countered. How could she do this? She had no Byakugan, she was virtually blind. She was countering everything, almost as if she was able to read her mind. 1.8 trigrams lightning palm. The bolt of lightning hit her, but it did no damage. Impossible, she couldn't be distracted. She did another technique. Water-style ice palm. Her hands turned into ice on any other opponent. It would have turned into a lot of damage, but it did nothing. A water and lightning user is rare even among our clan. The way she said it wasn't condescending nor was it praise. You are my descendant, Hinata. She did her own lightning palm. She barely dodged it. She was breathing heavily yet her opponent had not broken a sweat. Her followers stood there as if they had absolute faith that their goddess would obtain victory. Hinata, the more this fight dragged on, the less likely she would win. She had to win, she couldn't lose. Should she use her most powerful technique? She got into her stance and activated her lion fist. 2 lions appeared on her hands. She only used the technique when she was fighting against enemies that were extremely powerful. The woman looked at her almost as if she could predict what she could do. So they're still blue, they haven't matured yet. You haven't awakened his chakra. This won't do. You cannot touch me, not as you are. To prove her point, Kana raised one of her arms and formed a lion fist. It was gold, the symbol of the queen of the Hyuga clan. My dear child, you can't win. Your lion fist is blue. You haven't fully accepted yourself as a princess who hasn't accepted herself isn't someone who could obtain the higher stage of power in lion fist. You can't beat me, you know this. Cease this foolishness at once. She commanded. Hinata had lost the will to fight. The vast difference in power was night and day. She fell to her knees and screamed, the failure, the powerlessness, everything she was, and more. My poor child, unfortunate soul, I know in your heart you are not ready to accept the truth. You will in time, you must, those important to you will die if you do not accept your role in our clan. You are the Byakugan princess. In time you will come to me for answers about your true heritage, the heritage that your clan has hid from you, hid from the mother that birthed you. Until you are ready I will leave you, my child. She walked away. Hinata was powerless to do anything, the fear, the despair, everything. In every way she was stronger than she was, and she didn't even have the ability to use her Byakugan. The legends, she thought they were exaggerations. There were only 2 stories that could compare to hers, one about Hashirama and Manda, and another about herself. The vast difference between her and Kana was like night and day. How was she going to tell the Hokage what she had just done? Naruto wondered where Hinata was. It was almost time to leave, so the Cloud Ninjas would also be heading home. Naruto noticed Choji talking to a red-haired girl who was blushing. He didn't know what that was about, but then he saw the man who had helped him save the village. They didn't speak much. He took his hand out. "I hope we can be friends someday, Naruto," Killer Bee said sincerely, hoping that Naruto would take his hand in return. "One day I hope we can be friends, we gotta stick together after all, we are Jinchuriki." Everyone else in the group didn't know what he was talking about. "Kyuubi is someone you should treat as your friend. I'm just giving you this piece of advice. If you do so, he will reveal his true name to you sooner. I sense that you two have a bond, but it could get stronger. Know this, my friend, if you ever need any help with any training with your partner, just let me know." He wanted to take him up on his offer. "I find this host insufferable," Kyuubi said with annoyance. "Well, your host is the first ever to treat you like a person, it's a start, Kyuubi." He didn't want to hear it from the Eight Tails. Naruto figured he was too prideful to admit that he was blushing in embarrassment. "I hope one day our villages can be on friendly terms, but until that day comes, unfortunately, it'd be better for all parties involved if you were to leave," Darui said respectfully to everyone in his group. The Cloud Nin turned their backs on them and headed home. There's so much Naruto has learned on this journey to this village, and he realizes how little he knew about the world, how small he felt. Hinata approached everyone. Naruto could tell she looked horrified by something, but he didn't know what it was. Nothing was said, and the Konoha ninja went in the opposite direction. They headed home, but Naruto couldn't help but wonder if something sinister was at work. "Excellent, impressive, most impressive, you have done well," Danzo said praisingly. The woman took off her mask. One of the rare times she did her hair was long red features of the Uzumaki clan. She was a woman that was in her 40s, though by her appearance, because of her genetics, she looked like she was in her early 20s. Her face cannot be seen by anyone but Danzo. "So what is the next phase of our plan, Danzo-sama?" The redhead woman. "The Chunin exams are a perfect opportunity for us to enact the plan I have had planned for decades. It's perfect with the failure in the Sapphire Village and Hinata Hyuga openly accusing the Hokage of negligence. I say that we have the final pieces to replacing that fool and putting his foolish ideology in the dustbin of history." He heard a chuckle. He was from none other than Orochimaru himself. "I'll finally be able to kill that foolish sense of mine. Just remember, Danzo, this alliance only exists to further our goals, there is nothing else. As soon as you betray me, our alliance, you know the consequences. Don't you? That genjutsu was my invention, and do not forget I am the reason why you have gotten as far as you did. You are nothing without me." Danzo was angry just hearing those words, but he wasn't wrong. "It's quite a shame you didn't get Hinata to join you when you had the chance. She would have been perfect to do something about the Hyuga. They've been a little too ambitious lately, for their own good." He heard another one of his followers say, he would deal with them in time after he was the Hokage. He would make it law. Those below Chunin would have the curse seal placed on them. They would exist to serve those who are worthy. He would use the birdcage seal from the Hyuga clan on everyone in Konoha that did not conform. That was his goal. "I must prepare for our plan to come to fruition. The exams will start in a few weeks, so see you then." Orochimaru disappeared. He was alone with the red-haired woman. It was times like these that he was grateful for the foolishness of the Uchihas. Had it not been for that, he would not have acquired such a powerful asset who was loyal to him and him alone. "What is your bidding, Danzo-sama?" asked the woman. "Keep an eye on Naruto and Hinata. Make sure they don't do anything that endangers the village. Use whatever means necessary, you know your orders." She disappeared from his sight. Decades of patience, decades of planning, decades of setbacks, it would all come to pass, it had to. There is nothing that can get in his way, not even a fool can stop him from getting what is his by right, what he should have had for the very start. The Hokage seat, it had been denied from him for too long, he would get what should have been his. Patience is what got him as far as it did, and patience is what would ultimately lead him to victory. Kana was far away from the Sapphire Village, her most loyal followers were by her side. The Konoha ninja coming was fate. The descendant of Madara was with them. As she stood now, she was not strong enough. There was much she did not know. 70 years had passed. Even if a lot of her power she still possessed, there was a lot of it she still didn't due to the seals in her eyes. She had to bind her time and find out the current affairs of the world as it stood now. She was powerful, but there was others that were still stronger as long as her eyes were sealed. What do we do now, mother? Asked a girl from earlier who looked around the age of 16. Right now we wait, my dear. There's a lot I do not know about this era, and I cannot take any action unless I know the changes that have been made to this world. The only thing I do know is my children in the Uchiha clan are dead, and I will find out who killed them so I can punish those responsible. That is my goal for the time being. The others were taken aback. They were surprised at her hatred. The legends have said that she was a kind and benevolent woman. Your will be done, mother. She walked with her followers. For now she will wait. The people she wants the most on her side is her descendant and Madara's, but that was for the future. The present was about finding a safe place where she could recover her strength after being asleep for 70 years and learning about the current tides of the world. Chapter 12 Bonds. It took days to get back to Konoha. Days for Hinata to think about what she had done. She unleashed possibly one of the most powerful shinobi that had ever existed back into the world. But if she were to tell anyone, they wouldn't believe her. The woman insisted she was the Byakugan princess, something she had been running away from for years. She didn't want to hear about it. She dismissed her students and allowed them to enjoy their time off from such a long mission. Part of her wanted to think all of them made it out alive, but to her, it didn't make her feel any better. She had almost killed her friends and even her student Naruto because of that jutsu that was cast on her. No amount of telling her that it wasn't her fault would change the fact that it almost happened. She was walking alongside Asuma and Kurenai. The debriefing had started. They reported everything that had happened on the mission as it happened. The evidence pointing that it was Konoha that was responsible. The Hokage looked like he had aged. He sat there in silence as they explained everything. When they stopped, he spoke. Then it is as I feared. The Sapphire Village will ask for protection from the Land of Lightning, and there's nothing we can do about it without starting a war. This is bad. Yes, it was having part of the Land of Fire territory annexed by its neighbor. This was going to look really bad on the Hokage. Someone was going to use that against him, and she knew who it was. So what do we do, Hokage-sama? Asked Kurenai. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do for now. You should all prepare your students for the upcoming Chunin exams. Soon, they will be asked if they would like to enter. It'll be up to you all to recommend them to the Chunin exams. That's why I would recommend you stay as close to the village as possible. You're all dismissed. Kurenai and Asuma left, leaving Hinata and the Hokage alone. I heard what happened on the mission, Hinata. She did not want to be told it wasn't her fault again. She was sick of hearing about that. I'm not going to tell you it wasn't your fault. That's not why I want to talk to you alone. That jutsu, I want to hear a report. What did it do to you? What did it bring out? What I was told, it brought out emotions in you, a part of yourself that you had suppressed. Genjutsu can do various things to people's minds, but never what it did to you. Can you explain what happened? Hinata didn't want to think about the jutsu. It was horrible. She heard voices. She was experiencing memories all at once that she was consumed with rage. That's not all. The curse mark on her neck almost consumed her. And if it hadn't been for the seal, the second curse mark would have engulfed her and killed everyone if she entered her second curse mark state. The seal was weakened, she knew this, and she knew the Hokage would bring it up. The jutsu brought repressed memories to the surface. I heard voices telling me I was a failure. I was worthless, among other things. I'd rather not discuss. The old man looked at her understandingly. I understand, but this jutsu is dangerous. You have a strong resistance against genjutsu. It should not have done what it did to you. Someone must have trained you very well, as you are. You were trained by genjutsu masters. You should not have been reduced to the state that you were reported to be in. It has to be some sort of new weapon that an enemy developed, like a ninja tool or something. Hinata thought about that, but she couldn't see what kind of weapon it was that was used on her. I can't tell you anything more than I've told you. I don't know. If I did, I would have told you everything in the reports. I don't know any countermeasures against this jutsu, assuming it's a jutsu at all. Not some sort of toxin the enemy injected in my bloodstream. I just don't know. The truth is no one knew, and that's what terrified her the most about this jutsu. You must stay in the village with your team and focus on training them for the time being. We've taken your blood, we will see if there was anything in your bloodstream. In the meantime, stay in the village and I will have to take a look at the seal on your neck, see if it's compromised. What I've heard in the reports, it almost engulfed you. He approached her and examined the mark on her neck. I will have Kakashi reseal the curse mark later. It's too dangerous for you to leave the village. Until I know it's safe, you are forbidden to leave the village. This was not a request, it was an order. I will do as you ask, Hokage-sama. Hinata bowed respectfully and left. Hiruzen thought when things were getting worse, they got even worse. He looked at all the reports that the council would use against him, as well as the civilian council. He couldn't help but feel like someone was conspiring to remove him from power. He would have gladly stepped down if he had someone else he could trust to take on the mantle of Hokage. But there was no one in the village he trusted. Everyone else was either inexperienced or not someone he would trust with the job. There was only one person he would choose, but he knew he would never want to be the Hokage in the first place. I know you're there, Jiraiya. Jiraiya made little effort to hide his amusement. Oh, sensei. You take things a little too seriously, you have to live a little. Relax. He knew he was only lightening up the mood, he was hiding what he was truly feeling from out in the open. There were eyes and ears everywhere, damn those counselors. Make it quick Jiraiya, why are you back here? He handed him a piece of paper. He knew it was written in code, so whatever he was truly saying was something he would have to decode himself. I'll make sure to keep an eye on him and make sure he hasn't do anything foolish. Hiruzen was concerned Hinata could look after Naruto herself. She was certainly doing better than he was, much to his shame. You know, I wouldn't be shocked if those two end up together one day, Jiraiya said as a joke. Don't joke about something like that, Hiruzen said, annoyed. I know the early signs sensei history will repeat itself. I just know it, if they're anything like Minato and Kushina it will happen. I'm not a betting man, but I believe it will. The idea of Naruto and Hinata getting together was ridiculous, but that's what everyone said about Minato and Kushina when the early signs of Minato being in love with his sensei was open. Will you take care of Naruto? He asked his former student. Of course. After all, he's the closest thing I have to a grandson. When he heard that, he felt terrible, but then disregarded it quickly. He couldn't focus on how the past could have been different, he could only focus on the present. You need to be careful. Root is going to make its move soon. He knew exactly what Orochimaru and Danzo were up to. He had no proof that they were collaborating. Absolutely no proof, and that's what frustrated him the most. He should have killed them when he had the chance. He should have completely dismantled Root, but he felt powerless. Damn those elders, if they didn't constantly block everything I did, we could have done something about him a long time ago. Hiruzen said contemptuously, he hated them. Watch your back, sensei, and I will make sure to keep an eye on Naruto. Jiraiya left. He couldn't help but feel that no matter what happened in the next few months, he would step down as Hokage. He would have to. One way or another, there was only one person he could trust, maybe another. One, but she has no faith in the will of fire anymore. But those are his only options. Tsunade. I wish you were here. He pushed his thoughts aside for now, he couldn't think about the future. He had to think about the present and prepare for what's to come. We can't leave this village until further notice, this sucks, Naruto said, irritated. Whatever, Sasuke said, not caring one way or the other. How am I going to earn money in the meantime? Kagome asked Hinata. It's out of my hands, I'm sorry. They were all disappointed that they were stuck, but nothing could be done. Here, it isn't much, but it should help. Hinata gave some of her money Kagome, which shocked her as it was more than she could ever make in 3 months with her current rank. I don't want your charity, sensei. She said respectfully. I have to look after my students, you're not as financially fluent as my other students here. I'm just trying to help in whatever way I can. It was difficult for her to accept all of her life, she had to work hard for everything. This felt like a lot of money to her. Thank you, she said genuinely. Let's go somewhere nice for once, Naruto suggested. I'd rather eat at home, Kagome said, not wanting to spend money that was just given to her on a restaurant. I can make you all home food, it's not a problem, said Hinata. She wasn't going to deny homemade food, especially if someone was offering. Of course, first I'm going to drop this money off at home and I'll be right there. She left her team along with her sensei. She headed home. Her mother was happy to see her, so she hugged her. Oh, my dear daughter. I'm so glad you're home and safe. What is it that you have in your hand? She showed her all the money that was given to her by her sensei. I'd like to meet her one of these days. Kagome, here, have some of this. You deserve it. She couldn't deny anything her mother said, so she took the money reluctantly. Her mother couldn't deny anything her mother said, Didn't want to, she wanted to make her mother happy, so she took the money reluctantly. She headed back to where her team was. They were waiting for her. So, where are we going, Hinata-sensei? Naruto asked her. I have to go home and make you lunch. I'll return to the training grounds in an hour. Please don't be late. Hinata took off from the group and left them alone. Hinata-sensei is making us lunch, I wonder what it tastes like. Naruto thought dreamily. Of course, he had to show that he had an obvious crush on their sensei. It would be endearing if it weren't annoying. Whatever, I'm not complaining about food that I'm not paying for. Sasuke said, hiding that he was looking forward to eating what their sensei was cooking. So what are we going to do in the meantime? Asked Sasuke to Kagome. What we should have done from the very start is simply talking. They both looked at her as if she had said something strange. What? She said, annoyed. You can be pretty cute when you act nice. The girl blushed a deep shade of red. She wanted to punch Naruto for saying something so stupid. What the hell does that mean? Sasuke was laughing. You're laughing too, moron. Relax, it's just a compliment, Naruto said, trying to cool the tension. Whatever, she said, embarrassed, doing her best not to admit this out loud, but she was starting to enjoy Naruto's presence. However, she would never tell that, especially in front of Sasuke or Hinata. It had been a while since Hinata made lunch for anyone. She went to her cabinet and looked in her fridge. Then she started cooking. It wasn't anything fancy. She was making enough for 4 people and a little extra for seconds. One of the things she enjoyed doing was cooking. She was good at it, and anyone who has ever had her cooking always compliments how great she is. It's her way of trying to bond with her students and let them bond just by having a simple activity like eating together. She wishes she would have done this from the start, perhaps Kagome would have respected her sooner. She didn't like the fact that she was forced to stay in Konoha, but there was nothing that could be done about that due to the potential danger that the jutsu that she was exposed to had. She wasn't sure if there was anything in her bloodstream. After an hour of careful preparation, she finished the lunch she was preparing for her students. It was a simple lunch, rice rolls with teriyaki sauce on the side. She put a few other things on the side as well, such as a few cinnamon rolls. After she was done, she put all of her students' lunches along with her own in a few containers and left her apartment. While she was walking, she saw a couple who looked around the same age of 12 to 13. They were laughing. She remembers a different time in a different life. It feels like a lifetime ago before she lost her faith in people, before she had lost the ability to smile and laugh. 5 years 6 months before the Uchiha clan massacre. Hinata was waiting for Itachi, who had returned from a mission. She was excited to reveal that she had been promoted to Chunin. It was on her first try, in the Chunin exams. She wore the vest she wanted to tell him. She waited for him at their usual spot. When she saw him approaching, the one person who could bring a smile to her face, it was him. She felt her heart beating just being near him. He was one of the few people she felt completely open with. They had known each other for a long time. I'm happy for you, you're closer to your dream, Itachi said with a genuine smile. Yes, but I hope I don't get in the way. I know how much being the Hokage means to you. The older boy looked up in the sky. I think you would be a better Hokage than I would ever be. You're kind and gentle, it's something our village can use. I'm nothing like you, Hina. When he called her by her childhood nickname, and nowadays she felt butterflies in her stomach. Something about the way he said it, he was her best friend, he was something much more she was afraid of telling him. With you by my side, I believe I can accomplish anything, Itachi-kun. Hinata said with emotion she was afraid to bring out openly. What is it that you're saying? He asked her. Well, if I become the Hokage, you could become my shadow Hokage. That's not what she wanted to say, but she couldn't tell him her feelings. Are you sure that's your real feelings? Hinata, it's not like you to lie. She looked away. He was able to see through her. Maybe I want something else. Maybe I want you to be my side, always. She was afraid of telling him her feelings, afraid of his rejection. My family would never approve and neither would yours, Hinata. She knew they wouldn't, but she didn't care. I don't care, they cannot control who I hold in my heart, Itachi-kun. He looked surprised by what she was saying. Do you know what you're saying? Do you have any idea? He asked her the last time they spoke about each other's feelings. He didn't believe her when she confessed to him. My answer is the same. I love you, Itachi. Itachi wrapped his arms around her, their face was inches from each other. He kissed her, and she returned his kiss with the same passion. He started to remove her vest. Are you sure you want this? Itachi asked her. More than anything, she said to him without hesitation. He kissed her again with more passion, and then, before he started to remove more of her clothing, it was all a flash to her. She was on top of him. The look of love in his eyes was almost as if the world stopped just for them. Are you sure you want this, Hinata? Itachi asked her. I've taken birth control, we're fine. She knew they were young, and many people would condemn them, but to her, it didn't matter. Later, she looked up at the sky with her lover. The act of lovemaking was nothing like she could imagine. She thought he was so kind to her. He was her ideal man, someone she would love to spend the rest of her life with. This has been a wonderful night, Hinata. I will forever ingrain this in my soul. The way he said it was with a tone of sadness. What's wrong, Itachi-kun? You're scaring me. He smiled sadly at her. She wondered what he was hiding. No matter what happens, do not change who you are. Your kind and gentle nature, that is your strength. It's not a weakness, it's your kindness and gentleness is why I fell in love with you. She leaned on his chest. She didn't know why he was saying this. I would burn the world for you, Hinata. You and Sasuke are the most precious people to me, and I would burn this village too if it meant keeping you safe. She was touched by this, but something disturbed her. I don't want you to become a monster, Itachi-kun. I love you the way you are. There was nothing but silence between them. I gotta go, don't forget my words. Itachi left her there as he went on his mission. She felt a tear fall through her eye. Why did she have to think about Itachi as much as she hates him? Her feelings have never gone away. She had never told anyone other than her friends that were closest to her that she loved Itachi Uchiha. It was a secret. She buried it deep down. She never wanted to tell anyone. Her love blinded her. Had she not been in love with him, she could have stopped him. She could have saved everyone in the Uchiha clan that was killed. She feels partially responsible for Sasuke's suffering. If only she had taken action sooner. If only. She wondered deep down, did he truly love her, or was that a lie? Why did she think about Itachi all of a sudden? Why has she been thinking about him a lot lately? Ever since that mission in the Sapphire Village, she's been thinking about the boy she loved once. The one she would have married, but all of that is in her heart now is hatred for the one who betrayed her, the one who betrayed the village, the one who betrayed everything that he stood for, what she stood for. No matter how many years had passed, she thought she had moved on from Itachi. She thought that she could put the past behind her. No matter how hard she tries, no matter how much she hates him, the love she feels towards him has not gone away. She was once told that love and hate are the same side of the same coin, that you can love and hate someone at the same time. It made no sense to her until she fell in love and grew to hate the man that she loved. She had to clear her thoughts so she couldn't let her students see her like this. She had to appear strong to project an image of strength. She buried deep inside of her the love that she once held for Itachi. She would never let herself fall in love again. She made that promise when he killed his own family and clan. It doesn't matter who the person is, she cannot allow another in her heart. She hasn't told a single soul about her love affair with Itachi, and she never will if she has anything to say about it. Man, what's taking so long? This is boring, Naruto said as they played Truth or Dare for the second time. Be patient, she'll be here when she gets here, said Sasuke, irritated at Naruto not being quiet. It's not that bad, she'll be here any minute, said Kagome, as if he could summon her. Hinata walked towards them. She had 4 containers. Wow, whatever you have there, it smells good, said Naruto, who was eager to eat what she made. Kagome didn't see the big deal. Food is just food to her, but she couldn't help but agree with Naruto that it did smell good. She imagined what it would taste like. It wasn't often she got a chance to taste high-quality food. They all sat across from each other, in a circle. They all sat cross-legged. Thank you, sensei, said Naruto, who was eager to eat what she made. Kagome took a bite. It was difficult for her to imagine tasting food that's good. She was a good cook, as good as her mother, if not better. Though she would never say that out loud. Thank you, sensei, Kagome said sincerely. It's not a problem, I love cooking. This is one thing she didn't think she would expect to learn about her sensei, someone from a prestigious clan who could literally hire a cook who loves cooking themselves. This woman kept amazing her. She couldn't help but feel like she misjudged her. I'm sorry sensei for how I've been acting, she apologized. Hinata dismissed it. It's okay, my failure to understand where you're coming from is my own failing. Respect is something that is earned, not given. Just because someone is of higher rank doesn't mean they deserve respect. They have to earn that respect by their deeds. I didn't do that when I took you under my wing at first. I hope to rectify that failure. Hinata was sincere. She understood why Naruto liked her so much. She was not like the others, very humble and respectful. Why wasn't she like that openly? Why is her personality so inconsistent? How come you don't act like this more? Why do you hide who you truly are? Kagome asked her. Both Sasuke and Naruto were surprised that she would ask her such a question. Old habits die hard. I suppose my training from my clan, she said with hesitation. She did not have a good relationship with her clan. That's what she gathered with her relationship with Hanabi. She was not going to ask because of how personal it was of her relationship with her clan. You know better than anyone here, Kagome, that a lot is expected from us. Failure is less tolerated if you're a woman. So being cold is almost always expected of women. Men are more free to be who they are. This made sense to Kagome. She had no interest in ever being a top ninja. That's bullshit. You should be whoever you want to be. It's not like it's getting in your way of your job. Naruto was not happy to learn just what he learned. It's the way things are when you're a woman with no connections, whether it's through a wealthy family or a clan. I hope to change that when I become Hokage. People will get their positions because they earned it, not because of family connections. Women will be able to get promoted because they are qualified or have earned it. They won't be passed over for their less qualified male counterparts because of their sex. There's other things I would change, but it would take too much time to explain. She couldn't help but look at her differently. Being the Hokage is quite an ambitious goal. I would support you the whole way, Hinata-sensei. I would definitely love to serve under you if you were ever the Hokage. Naruto said to her. But you have dreams of being Hokage too, would you really be willing to give that up? Hinata asked him. I would just be the 7th Hokage or the 8th. I would be able to wait my turn. Naruto said with a confidence that she couldn't help but admire. Isn't it premature to even talk about a 7th Hokage? We haven't even gotten a 5th Hokage yet. Sasuke pointed out. Come on, we all know sooner or later the current Hokage is going to step down. A 5th Hokage is inevitable. What Naruto said was true. It was inevitable. In fact, a 5th Hokage not being chosen by now was unusual. What was holding back the current Hokage from retiring? He was pushing 70, it would only be a matter of time. Even if a 5th Hokage is chosen, I doubt our sensei would be the 5th. She needs more experience. She is likely be the 6th Hokage if anything. Sasuke pointed out to Naruto. Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm patient. I'll be Hokage eventually. Hinata smiled. Stepping down as Hokage to give the title to you. What a day that would be. Everyone laughed at the idea of their sensei giving Naruto the mantle of Hokage. Well, first, I would like to be a dad for at least 10 or 15 years. That comes first before becoming Hokage. This surprised everyone. What? Naruto looked at everyone who was giving him a strange look. Of all the things, parenthood is what you would do before becoming Hokage. You are a strange one, Naruto. Kagome couldn't help but point that out. More than being Hokage, I wish to have a family. Is there anything wrong with that? Everyone was silent at Naruto's question. No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Hinata said to him. This felt awkward. She felt like she was in a conversation she shouldn't be engaged in, so she decided to change the topic quickly. Sasuke noticed as well. So what are we planning on doing? Since we can't go on missions right now, asked Sasuke as he finished the meal that she made for him. Hinata took a bite out of her cinnamon roll and answered, training. Not today, we're going to relax and bond as a team and as friends. Kagome has never made friends with anyone in many years. It is difficult. Would it be so bad to have someone to talk to and connect to? It feels so lonely. I wouldn't mind that, sensei, she admitted out loud. I would love to get to know you all better. Until this point, I've kept you at arm's length out of fear. I failed Sakura, she died because of me. Because of my poor choices and because I didn't connect with her, it will haunt me to the end of my days. She was way too kind. Kagome thought someone like this couldn't possibly be Hokage. It wasn't your fault, Kagome told her. But how can you say you weren't there? Hinata said, her voice on the verge of breaking. Because anything can happen on a mission, there are decisions we all have to make, sometimes impossible ones that won't always turn out the way we want them to. Honestly, up until this point, I felt guilty. I asked if someone else hadn't died to give me this chance, where would I be, where would my mother be? I feel guilty. If she wasn't dead, I wouldn't be here with you. I lied to myself saying I don't care that she died. Good riddance, it gives me a chance to be something to help my mother, but this feeling, the tears were falling through her eyes, she had been suppressing it for the whole time. The burden. I'm a terrible person, awful. She covered her face with her hands. Before she could say anything, she felt arms wrap around her. It was Hinata, her sensei, who did it. She felt tears, she couldn't control them due to the guilt that she was feeling over Sakura's death. It's okay. You're not a bad person, Kagome. You're doing what you can for your mother. You've sacrificed your own happiness and dreams just to take care of your mother. You're not a bad person. Hearing it from someone else is different. You don't have to hide it anymore, Kagome. We're friends, aren't we? Asked Naruto. The dope says some stupid things a lot of the time, but he's right on this one. Let it go. Her friends, it feels good to say that word out loud. Her sensei, she was so kind. Thank you. There was silence, breaking down barriers at this lunch gathering, changing everything about Team 7. They were no longer disgruntled kids, they were friends. Kagome finally had a place to belong. The coldness that had engulfed her heart. For so long, the cold heart that she tried to build, the facade was broken. Even though she was able to be open to Naruto and Sasuke, part of her still can't look at Hinata without feeling hatred towards her for what happened to Sakura. She feels guilty for feeling this way. It wasn't her fault, but part of her can't help but think at the back of her mind that had it not been for Hinata, Sakura would still be alive. A week had passed since Kagome showed her vulnerable side to everyone. She was far more open with her team, she smiled more. Instead of being argumentative, she bantered with her teammates Naruto and Sasuke. Even though they couldn't go on a mission, it was beneficial that they didn't. They trained together along with Hinata, who helped them train in areas they struggled with. Hinata helps Naruto with his chakra control and how to use his techniques that he learned from the scrolls almost 3 months ago. Sasuke trained mostly on his own. When he was done with his own training, he often sparred with Naruto and Kagome. While they were training by themselves, Hinata reconnected with her sister Hanabi. What she was doing now. It was hard for them to speak at first due to them barely talking for almost a decade. Finding something to talk about was a challenge. They started simply by talking about what they were doing. They were at a tea shop, sitting in the back, hoping not to draw attention from anyone. It was not a fancy place, she went there from time to time with her friends. It was also a place for her to relax when she wasn't on missions, but she didn't go there lately because of her training with her team. How's your team? Hinata asked her sister. They're doing fine. She picked up that something was eating at her, and it had to do with the mission that she was on in the Sapphire Village. What's wrong? Hinata asked. She knew what was bothering her, but she had to ask in order to voice what was truly eating at her. Does it ever get easier? Hanabi asked. Hinata remembered the first time she took a life. That was when she was 12. It was so many years ago, she can't even remember who she was back then. A different person, with little confidence, a burden on her teammates. No, it doesn't, Hinata answered. I don't understand. We're supposed to be shinobi. How can it not get easier with time? We're supposed to have hearts of steel. Emotions have no place for a ninja. She didn't like where this was going. Propaganda bullshit by the root, Hinata said with contempt. But it's true. You've been going on missions since you were 12 and you're now a Jonin. How can you say that isn't true? She's been wrestling with that for 7 years. There's been plenty of people who have kept their humanity and still are shinobi. We're not machines, Hinata said in disagreement. You say that, but you've killed hundreds since the age of 12. You say it doesn't get easier, yet what I hear from your reputation is that you're ruthless and desensitized to the deaths you've caused. How can it not get easier? Her sister asked, generally wanting to know. I've killed hundreds, yes, that's true, but I don't enjoy it. It doesn't get easier for me. I kill because if I don't, I will die, or those that I'm supposed to protect will die, or my comrades will die. I do what is necessary. We all have different ways of dealing with it. I deal with it by training others, they deal with it in different ways. Not everyone is suited for this kind of life. Hinata told her sister, giving her the cold-hearted reality of what it truly means to be a ninja. I don't understand why we're supposed to be tools, but how can we be tools if we have feelings? Emotions have no place for a ninja, but the only way we could be is if we shed our humanity. You cannot say that roots don't have merit. Hanabi said in disagreement. Root is where sociopaths are made. The kind of horrific things that organization does, in order to be part of it, you have to strip everything that makes you human. I almost joined that organization. If I did, I don't know where I would be. People that I once knew changed into different people after they joined the organization. It is not something I can endorse. Hinata shivers when she thinks about the people that had changed in the kind of person she could have become. It created a monster like Itachi, a sociopath and psychopath who were attracted to that organization. That was the main reason she wanted nothing to do with it after the Uchiha clan massacre. She didn't want to have this debate. She wanted to reconnect with her sister. Not having a discussion about the political landscape of the village was what she had in mind. I'm sorry, but everyone in the clan tells me to get over it. It's all part of being a shinobi. I can't help but feel like I'm becoming something I don't want to become. Hinata understands Hanabi very well. Well, the clan views everything as a weakness if it doesn't conform to their doctrine. Hinata said bitterly. Sis, I know you and the clan don't have good relations, but it's always been our way. She didn't care, she hated her clan and everything it represented. That's the problem with the clan. Everything about it is about preserving the Byakugan. It doesn't value our humanity if we're not born into the main branch. We might as well be cannon fodder sent to the slaughter. She had never talked about her bitterness towards the clan with anyone except her sister. You could help change the clan, she didn't want to hear it. What, so they can control my life, so they can force me who I can and can't marry. So the clan can dictate what my dreams should be. I don't care about the clan, let it rot for all I care. She didn't care if she showed her contempt for the clan. Hanabi was her sister, and she wasn't going to sugarcoat how she felt. You don't sound much different from Neji. It's frightening in a way. She didn't really want to hear about what happened. Hearing about Neji reminds her of the day her mother died. It should have been you that died. The only thing she remembers is her father's hateful words after her mother's death. The only thing that comforted her during those years was her childhood friend Itachi and her love. But he ended up betraying her in the village in the end. You should still try to reconcile with our clan. You can help change it. I can't do it alone. You are our fathers. She didn't want to hear that. She wanted nothing to do with her father's legacy or his clan. It could all burn. The only reason we are speaking Hanabi is because you are my sister, and my students want me to have a connection with you, but that's as far as I will go. I will not connect with the clan. It is your clan, not mine. There was an awkward silence before Hanabi spoke. Then, why do you use our clan's name? Why do you use the gentle fist then? You can't deny who you are. You are a Hyuga. This is where this conversation was inevitably going to lead to. She had to make her point clear. I don't have a choice in the matter. Without the name, I have no chance of becoming the Hokage. I only use the name for name recognition, and as for the gentle fist, it's just a weapon. Hinata's words angered Hanabi. Don't you have any pride in our clan? Hinata took a deep breath. She wasn't going to snap. She was trying to build her relationship with her estranged sister, but it was hard. You would not understand. You didn't hear those words your father told me. If you did, you would understand why I want nothing to do with the clan. I was looked upon as nothing more than a failure. Why would I want anything to do with a clan that looks at me as a failure? All my success up until this point has been due to my own merit. I worked hard for everything, and those fuckers still can't see me as anything more than a failure. Then you came along, they chose you to be your father's successor. I have to work hard for everything. I have Hanabi and I have to depend on others to give a good word just to get a promotion. You don't know how harsh this world is to women. You don't know if I was a man, I wouldn't have to use the Hyuga name, but I have to because it's the only way I'll be taken seriously. Because nobody's going to take me seriously who aims to be the Hokage if I was just some nobody with no connections. The normally soft-spoken woman doesn't normally raise her voice. Then she realized she was causing a scene. I'm sorry for causing a disturbance. She paid her tab and left, along with her sister who followed her to her apartment. Her sister noticed someone else was living with her. Is Naruto living with you? She asked. He moved in a few days ago. I wasn't going to let him live in that shithole he'd been living in for most of his life. She sat down on the couch, while Hanabi looked at her in the eye. I'm sorry for upsetting you earlier, Hanabi apologized apologetically. I'm sorry I keep forgetting that you're not like the others in the clan, you're my sister. I'm sorry this isn't easy for me. These feelings of bitterness I can't get rid of overnight, I'm trying. I really am. It's just. Her sister looked at her with understanding. I'm the one who should apologize for not even trying to understand where you're coming from. You don't have to tell me anything that happened that day. I don't want you to cut me off because we just started connecting again. I may screw up. I feel like we haven't made any progress since the mission. Hinata didn't agree. I don't agree the fact that we are talking is progress, it's going to take us time. We should just talk about something else, something that won't upset us both. She waited for her sister's response. Why not just watch a movie or something? She suggested. I don't know what movie to watch. She took the remote and turned on the television. We'll just watch whatever is on, hoping it isn't some boring-ass drama. Hinata laughed. It was so much like her sister, she would likely want to watch an action movie. She didn't care for those, she preferred horror movies, but this was her sister's time. What surprised Hinata was that her sister didn't choose an action movie like she thought, she chose a comedy horror film. Hinata didn't think her sister was into horror movies, but then again, she hadn't spoken to her in almost a decade. There were so many things about her sister that Hinata didn't know, she felt such aching in her heart that she had lost so much time with her sister. What else did she miss out on? Hinata wanted so badly to try to be a good sister, but it was so hard, it was a struggle. She saw Naruto come home. He waved to Hanabi, what are you watching? Naruto asked them. Oh, we're watching a horror movie. I think it's a little scary for a kid like you, Hanabi teased. I'm not scared of some damn horror movie. Naruto said defensively. Hearing her sister and her student banter, it felt good. It kept her mind off of what she was thinking about. How was your day, Naruto? Hinata asked him. I was fine, a little boring though we barely did anything today except train. Hinata of course left her students to themselves for the day. It was a decision on her part due to her wanting to spend time with her sister before the Chunin exams. I'll make some dinner for both of you, Hinata said as she looked at Naruto and her sister. She went to the kitchen and started to get to work. It would take a bit for her to cook, but it was something that she wanted to do at the moment to keep her mind off of what her and Hanabi talked about earlier. As Hinata left for the kitchen, Hanabi couldn't help but observe Naruto. She had heard rumors of Naruto having a crush on her sister. It was becoming obvious that it wasn't just a shallow crush like it was on Sakura. It was something else entirely. The very fact that her sister took Naruto in and put him in her apartment so he would have a better place to live showed how much she cared about him. He was only an infant when Kushina and Minato died. She was close to them, they were like family to her. Had things been different, she would have been Naruto's babysitter. Dinner's ready for both of you, Hanabi. Eat your food before it gets cold. Hanabi didn't need to be told twice. She sat at the table, Hinata sat across from Naruto. Hanabi sat on the other side of the table. There were no words between them. She ate the food her sister made, but she couldn't help but notice the look Naruto gave her sister. He savored the food that she made, for what she had heard about him, he just ate fast and ate like a pig. But what she saw from Naruto, he didn't do that regarding her sister. In fact, when it came to her sister, Naruto went out of his way not to do the things that he was once guilty of. They talked about what they did for the day, she paid close attention. Her sister wasn't aware of it, but she was. Naruto, who talked about his teammates and what they did for the day, but what surprised her most of all was the way he talked to her sister. Naruto, for what she could see in his eyes, this was not a crush, he felt towards her sister. It was something deeper than that, and Hinata didn't notice she was oblivious to the boy possibly being in love with her. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Thanks for the food, Hinata-sensei. I'll see you tomorrow. Naruto asked her. Of course. Make sure to get some rest, Naruto. He got up from his chair and washed his dishes and went into his room. When he was out of earshot, Hanabi had to make a comment. Wow. Under a short amount of time, he is definitely changed, you have a good influence on him, sister. Hanabi praised her. I just do what I can. All his life, he has never experienced love or friendship. I just wanted to make up for my failure to live up to my promise I made to his parents. This was more than a promise, it was not Hanabi's business. Naruto played a big role in her sister and her talking again. She'll forever be grateful to him for doing that. One day she couldn't help but smile. He may end up being her brother-in-law, though the likelihood of having another Minato and Kushina would be considered unlikely, but nobody could fool the eyes of a Hyuga. I'll see you later, Hinata. I have to go, Hanabi said as she walked toward the door before closing it. She placed her hand on Hinata's shoulder and gave her a hug. I'm sorry about earlier today, Hinata said. Hanabi shrugged. Don't worry about it, sis. It's difficult for both of us, and it will take time. Thank you for not cutting me completely from your life. They said nothing for a moment. Come by any time, Hinata said, offering her a chance to spend more time with her. Of course I'll do just that. See you around. She opened the door and closed it. She knew her father wouldn't be pleased that she was out so late, but she didn't care. She wouldn't waste any opportunity she had with her sister. The elders can go to hell, she won't cut her sister out of her life, especially when her sister is willing to let her in. She'll forever be grateful to Naruto for giving them a second chance at being a family. She hopes one day she can have that with Neji. She doesn't know if the likelihood of that happening is very high. Good, you have improved, Naruto, Hinata said proudly. Her private lessons with Naruto have started to pay off. His chakra control was a lot better than it was prior to her instruction. It's all because I have a great teacher, Hinata sensei. He wasn't wearing his usual yellow and orange jumpsuit, he was wearing black training gear that she provided for him. Since living with her, she had given him many things he never had before, such as more clothes, healthier meals. Some were thinking she was overstepping, but she didn't agree. She was fulfilling a promise she had made to Naruto's mother. Things have only gotten better since you became my sensei, Hinata. I live in a better apartment. I have friends and I eat healthier even though I still love ramen. It's nice to know when I come home that I have someone who cares about me. His smile is infectious, she had to admit. There are many things I want to tell you, Naruto, that you deserve to know. I just don't know how to approach it. Naruto looked at her strangely. What do you mean? Naruto asked her. She knows she could get in trouble for this, but Naruto she felt deserved to know. She had waited to tell him so that he could build his trust. However, she knew it was now or never. If she didn't tell him, it would only make things worse for them later, when he finds out the truth on his own. There are things I know, Naruto, about your parents, even though I was a little girl when they passed away. She couldn't tell what was in Naruto's eyes, she couldn't tell what his expression was. She was scared. You knew them? Naruto asked softly. Your mother was like a second mother to me, and your father was the closest thing I ever had to a father. I modeled myself after them. She waited for Naruto's response. The next few seconds would determine everything about their relationship. How come you haven't told me sooner? Naruto asked, trying to remain calm. I wanted to gain your trust first. I mean, there's the law in Konoha about not telling you until you come of age, but I don't think it's right. Those who don't follow the rules are scum, but I think those who hide things from their friends are worse than scum. It was never my intention to hide anything from you, Naruto. Please believe me. She was scared, she hoped she didn't permanently lose his respect. I understand that I don't like it, but I understand, Naruto said as he walked away. Hinata decided to give him some space for now before pressing the issue further. Naruto was alone in the place that he usually went when he was upset. Hinata kept a secret from him. She knew his parents, she actually talked to them, she actually was around them even if they died when she was young. It was not fair. How can she keep something like that from me? He said to no one in particular. Then he heard Kyubi speak. You know you are an idiot, I can feel negative energy, whenever anyone is hostile to you. I never felt anything from Hinata that is negative or hostile to you. She never lied to you, she just didn't tell you about your parents because you'll have to talk to her about that, cause I don't know what her thought process was. Think about it, Kit. She gave you a better place to live, she's giving you better clothes. You have better and more healthy foods to eat now. I think her actions speak for themselves. I don't think she was malicious, fear is what prevented her from telling you. Kyubi allowed Naruto to absorb everything he said. She didn't lie to me like the other adults, she never treated me with any hostility, but she always treated me with kindness. I don't know why, but I'm just jealous in a way. I wish I would have had a chance to know my parents. It feels like everyone's hiding something from me, Naruto said, thinking deeply about his life in the past 3 months. I can say this much, she cares deeply for you. She wouldn't be doing the things that she did if she didn't care about you. If you ask me, she is one of the few humans I like. Hinata Hyuga is quite a woman. She would definitely be a fine mate one day, or wife, whatever you humans call that thing regarding committing yourselves to each other. Kyubi said in a form of respect. I don't know why you insist of calling her my potential. Whatever, you mean you don't even understand your own feelings about your own woman. You're lucky she has no interest in men because you would have no chance otherwise. You're just a boy, said teasingly. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Naruto asked, annoyed. Do you really not understand your own feelings? I'll explain them another time because she's coming. He cut off the connection and Hinata sat next to him. She gave him a tray of food, which he took, and they started to eat. They looked at the sunset. I'm sorry, Naruto apologized apologetically. You have nothing to apologize for, Naruto. You did nothing wrong. He didn't agree, he felt like he wasn't being more understanding towards her. It's just that I'm jealous. I'm sorry you actually had a chance to be around my parents to talk to them. I never knew them, Naruto said honestly. What were they like, my mother and my father? Naruto asked Hinata. They were good people. Kushina-san was everything I admired in a woman. She was beautiful, and she was strong. She was also kind to those she loved and those she taught. This village's biggest crime was denying her chance to be the Hokage. Naruto was shocked, his mother almost became the Hokage. What happened? Naruto asked her. The civilian council, along with the elders, voted against her and placed your father in her place. I remember. I was angry as a child when that happened. That injustice is what made me want to be the Hokage. Your mother deserved it, and I have never forgiven the council for denying what should have been hers. This was a lot for him to take in. My father Minato Namikaze was the 4th Hokage. It's hard to believe, but how come I don't have his last name? Naruto asked his sensei. Your father had a lot of enemies. You were given your mother's maiden name to protect you. That made sense. He always wondered what Uzumaki was. What was my father like? Naruto asked Hinata. He was kind and gentle. He was proof that you didn't need to be cold to be a Hokage. Many of the village's tragedies would have been prevented if he was still alive. Naruto couldn't help but think about his father so much. He didn't know. What else do you know? Naruto asked his sensei. Well, your mother was your father's sensei. This made Naruto blink. He heard Kyubi laughing as if he found it funny. That's so ridiculous. Naruto blurted out. How did my mother fall in love with her student? That just doesn't make sense to me. It just sounds like something straight out of a novel. Hinata laughed as if she agreed. I didn't understand it myself at the time, but I do know one thing. When I think about when your mother was pregnant with you, I made a promise to make sure you would be okay and wouldn't go down the wrong path. I made that promise to your mother when she asked me to take care of you in case something happened to her. I feel like I've neglected that promise until now. Naruto understood why she had been acting the way she had since taking him under her wing. Thank you for telling me this. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little mad at you for not telling me this sooner, but I understand that you're a good friend, Hinata. Naruto forgot to correct himself, and she didn't reprimand him. When it's just us, you don't have to call me sensei, Naruto. Hinata said with a smile. If it's not a problem, can I call you Hinata-chan? He wondered if he overstepped, but she showed no indication that he did. Sure, Naruto-kun. There was a silence between them. Naruto couldn't help but feel like their relationship had deepened. They looked up at the sky in awe. It would be the start of the Chunin exams. He hadn't heard a word if she would approve yet, but he'd know by next week. There was one thing, however, that he wanted to do before the exam started. He was going to make her laugh and smile for real. He formed a plan. Starting from tomorrow, he would do Operation Make Hinata-sensei smile. That was his goal. Kana Hyuga had learned a lot in the past few weeks that she had awakened the current state of the shinobi world. She was disgusted. The dream that Hashirama sent to her friend, his entire world's dream, the will of fire, was nothing more than a flawed world that has not ended wars like it promised but made wars more likely. The amount of power of the 5 great nations, them stepping on the weaker nations, this disgusted her. Her children were crying out in pain. Needed her guidance, they needed everything. She was in one of the ancient hideouts of the Uchiha clan. It was dark. She was sitting on a throne. She knows it would be considered blasphemy by an Uchiha for her to sit, but their clan was on the verge of extinction thanks to Konoha. She heard footsteps of one of her children. The brown-haired girl had her hair down, her eyes were blue. "Momo, I have a task for you." She looked at her questioningly. "What do you wish for, mother?" She asked her. "In Konoha the Chunin exams are going to begin. I want you to keep an eye on Hinata Hyuga and Sasuke Uchiha." The girl looked at her confused. "Mother, is this really what you want me to do? What about the seals on your eyes? Shouldn't we find a way to remove?" She cut her off gently. "In time I will find it. I'm not strong enough to track down the seals and I would not endanger you unnecessarily to find it. My task is to keep an eye on my descendant and one of the last surviving Uchihas, Sasuke. Keep him safe by any means necessary. I have trained you well, my daughter. I've instructed you on everything that you know." Momo got up and before she left Kana to say one last thing. "Do not take unnecessarily risk. Avoid Orochimaru at all cost." The girl turned around and nodded in an acknowledgement and left. She wishes she can go out with her children whose task she set to do pacific things, but she is not strong enough alone in the ancient hideout of the Uchiha clan awaiting her children's return. Rumors of her return were spreading. It's only a matter of time before they won't be able to ignore her. Not even the so-called Akatsuki would be able to ignore her. "Madara, Hashirama, you are both naive fools. The world is far cruel and you helped build this shinobi system that has created more suffering. I will do what you could not and free my children from the suffering you have inflicted on them without flawed and childish ideas." She vows she will free this world from such cruelty that her misguided former friends created. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and have a great day.